predictably, we went over with Cassin and Ocasio-Cortez. They're the fringe left. But the Democratic Party now is getting into real dicey territory. So a guy named Jeff Merkley, he's a senator from Oregon. He goes on CNN and says this, go.
But the reason that enrichment occurred is because President Trump, in his first administration, pulled us out of the diplomatic deal with Iran, in which they had huge amount of inspections and every path to a nuclear weapon had been blocked through diplomacy, not through war. So it's unfortunate that Trump's decision in his first administration set the scene now for this challenge.
And that's the mantra now of the Democratic Party, that Obama was brilliant, it was a brilliant deal, Iran was constrained, and Trump just blew it all up, so it's Trump's fault. You heard that from Carville last week on News Nation. I'll be on News Nation at 9 o'clock tonight, but I told Carville he was full of you-know-what, which he is, because he just spouts the propaganda, which this guy did. So, but I want to go on a record with Trump. He issued a statement when he pulled out of the Obama deal. Here's what the statement said, quote, "In the years since the deal was reached, Iran's military budget has grown by almost 40%. True. After the sanctions were lifted, the dictatorship used its new funds to build nuclear-capable missiles, support terrorism, cause havoc. True. The agreement was so poorly negotiated that even if Iran fully complies, the regime can still be on the verge of a nuclear breakout in a short period of time." That's speculation, but that's what Trump believed. Okay, that's why he pulled out in his first term. So you can decide whether that was a wise move or not. But to say that everything would be swell with Iran if Trump had not pulled out of the deal is absurd. Okay? Did you miss October 7th there, pal? Merkley, did you miss that? Ooh. All right. Who dissented on the Republican side? Here they are. As usual, Congressman Massey, Kentucky, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, Senator Rand Paul, Steve Bannon, and Tucker Carlson. They're the biggest names on the Republican side who are dissenting. We have Eric Bolling tomorrow night. He is dissenting somewhat. Has to come up against me. So don't miss that. Europe, Europe is, I'm going to get into this on YouTube, but the only guy that really stood up is Starmer, the PM of Great Britain. And he said, yeah, we know it had to be done, but the rest of them are. Germany wasn't as weaselly but Macron was really a weasel. So we'll get into all of that. Stock market is shaky. It goes hour to hour. What can I tell you? That's why I told you 2 weeks ago, was it? You got spec stocks? Sell them. I did. I shouldn't give you financial advice, so let me rephrase it. I sold my spec stocks. It's too risky in this day and age. Dividend, big companies, long-time holdings, fine. Speculation, no. Looking out for you. Here's a story that was gone almost totally unreported. Pakistan is nominating President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Why? Because you remember in May, India and Pakistan almost at war because there was a terror attack in Kashmir, and the death toll was 46. Okay, and they were shooting each other and all of that. It's the ethnic war. Trump stepped in and calmed it down. Do you know that? Did you hear this reported? That Pakistan's nominating him, the Nobel Peace Prize? I didn't. My astute producer picked it up. Okay. Joining us now from North Carolina is the purveyor of BernardGoldberg.com. And I checked that out. And I am very busy. So BernardGoldberg.com. I check in. So you say you support the action, but you're not a big Trump fan. So explain that to me.
It's not that I'm not a big Trump fan. My basis, I'm an opinion journalist now. But like you, I was a hard news journalist for a long time. So I come to my conclusions based on facts. So sometimes I agree with Donald Trump, sometimes I don't. In this case, I'm totally with President Trump. He did the right thing. Iran was never going to voluntarily give up their nuclear program. For decades, they strung one president after another, they strung them along. And they pretended that diplomacy was going to lead to Iran, the mullahs, giving up their nuclear dreams and passions. They made one big mistake, Bill. They assumed Donald Trump was like all the other presidents they were dealing with. Donald Trump was different from all the others, and he showed them how different he was on Saturday night. I'm totally with him on this.
So it doesn't have anything to do with Israel, and you're Jewish, right?
No, I'll tell you what it has to. No, it doesn't. But I'll tell you what it does have to do with. It has to do with risks being weighed against other risks. So, is there a risk that Iran will do something stupid? Is there a risk that they may widen and escalate the war? Yeah, there's a risk, of course. Like you correctly said, if anybody tells you what's coming next, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
But against that risk, Bill, you have to weigh the risk of a country run by zealot Islamist clerics having a nuclear weapon.
And they're haters.
And I'm not
haters and killers.
And I'm not taking the risk of them having a weapon like that.
They knew about October 7th. They knew that Hamas was going to go over and slaughter those people in the kibbutz. Iran knew. And that was really, I think, what put Trump over the line. Yeah, the nuke thing, obviously, you can't allow a rogue regime that is on the record is we're going to kill every Jew we can and we're going to kill Americans too, to have a bomb that they might be able to disassemble and give to a terrorist and set it off someplace. Now, you and I are simpatico, and I think we've made a very logical case so far. We're 19 minutes into this broadcast. But then you have the isolationists in the Republican Party who they don't care whether Iran has a nuclear weapon or not. That's kind of strange, don't you think?
I think it's immoral. I find it interesting that the isolationist wing of the Republican Party sounds a lot like the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. But beyond that, how is it moral to say, well, they won't put it in these words. I want to be fair to them. They won't say, we don't care that they have a nuclear weapon. As a matter of fact, they'll say, we don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. But if you're going to be an isolationist, then what you're really saying, what it really comes down to, is if they use it against Israel and kills 10 million Jews, Hitler only got 6 million, not our problem. America first, not our problem.
But it is our problem because, look, that's just such a sophomoric point of view. Just on its face, don't take the Israeli Jew thing out. So if you have a nuclear weapon that goes off on this planet anywhere, you set civilization back 10 years. Everybody is affected. Everybody.
So this gets back to my point about risk versus risk. They only talk about the risk of a wider war. Fair enough. That is a concern. But they don't talk about the risk that you just talked about and that I talked about in the column that's on my website. They don't talk about the risk of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini having a nuclear weapon. How could you not? You have to stop that. You have to stop that. And that's what Donald Trump did. And I'll criticize him when I think he does something that's not in his or our best interest, but I'm going to praise him when he does the right thing. And this time he did the right thing.
I'm trying to get inside the mind, and I will do this with bowling tomorrow. Eric Bowling will be on, as I mentioned. of these isolationists because they're not dumb people. Rand Paul is not a dumb person, neither is Tucker Carlson or Steve Bannon. They're not. But I think it's a stubbornness now that's set in, and they get an awful lot of attention doing this as well. I think there's an attention factor here.
Well, I understand their concern. It's not just words, it's a philosophy. And the philosophy is we don't want to get involved in other people's problems, as if the United States is a bystander in all of this. And Iraq is weighing on all of this too. We tried to change the landscape of the Mideast once, and I don't think that turned out too well.
No, but it's a different situation than Iraq.
But that's hanging over this whole discussion.
Yeah, but they're using that to make a false equivalency. So, I mean, it's like the Panama invasion compared to World War II. Iraq.
You know why it's an unfair comparison? I'll tell you why. And you know why. Because we're dealing with a nuclear bomb right now.
Right. It's so much more intense. And the Iraq situation was a miscalculation. I mean, those people who say, oh, the government lied to us about, they knew that Saddam didn't have that. That is so much garbage. Saddam told his generals, all right, that he had the weapons because he wanted to intimidate those generals. And that's what the New York Times reported. And that's why it got out of control. Now, final question for you. When we're looking at the landscape here, I picked out a few people. And I don't like to do this. In my younger days, I did it more. But now I'm watching people attack other people personally for money. And this is what they do on social media. They attack people personally, they get more eyeballs, and they can sell ads. It's about money. Okay, that's why they're doing it. I think when I single out Chuck Schumer, am I being too harsh on the senator?
Well, when you said he's a blanking hypocrite, what word did you mean when you said blanking?
I don't want to shock you. I don't want to shock your sensibilities, Goldberg. But since you worked in the CBS newsroom for like 50 years, you've heard the real word before.
Here's the thing that gets me about Chuck Schumer. He had a perfect score on his SATs before he went to Harvard. He's a bright guy.
Yeah.
What a wasted use of intellect to become a political hack. That's my take on Chuck Schumer.
I sit there and does he think that guys like me are not going to trace him back to what he did when Obama dropped the bombs on Libya? And you have a totally different position. And then when you ask him about it, he'll never do an interview. He'll never, ever go, answer those questions. Look, Ocasio-Cortez, I said this on Piers Morgan. I went on his show tonight. And I said, look, I don't want to be uncharitable to a fellow terrier. So I have a degree from Boston University as well. But she's simply not smart enough to hold the job as a congressperson. She's just not smart enough.
You don't have to be that smart.
No, but she's not smart even at your low bar. Okay? She doesn't even reach your low bar. That's the frame of reference that woman has. Zero. And I had to say it to put it into some kind of perspective. Like, for me to pick on her would be, like kicking a little Cocker Spaniel. It's not fair. Schumer, another matter.
I know how much you dislike cliches. And so do I. I dislike them as much as you do. But here's one. Donald Trump could find a cure for cancer, and she'd be opposed to Donald Trump for finding a cure for cancer. So let's not take her that seriously.
No, I agree with that. And that's why I didn't. But the other guy from Illinois, but they both should be brought up in front of this. You don't object to that, right? Health Ethics Committee, while we have people in the field, you're doing this?
I think no matter what your political philosophy, you don't do something that jeopardizes American military forces while they're in the midst of an operation. They don't do that.
It's just almost impossible to believe that these people are that stupid that they would do it. They didn't think about it. They just want to run out there and pander their far left base. All right, the website is bernardgoldberg.com. It's like BillO'Reilly.com, except my name is Irish and Goldberg is Jewish. It's just
Right.
put the both names in, and then you'll get two good websites. Appreciate it, Bernie. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Bill.
Let's face it, the U.S. economy is under stress. National debt rising, trade war shaking the markets. And meanwhile, China is dumping the dollar and stockpiling gold. That's why I protected my savings with physical gold and silver through the only dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. And you can do this. Get precious metals delivered to your door or place in a tax-advantaged gold IRA. They'll even help you roll over your existing IRA or 401k, tax and penalty free. With billions in precious metals delivered, thousands of five-star reviews, and an A+ from the Better Business Bureau, you can trust American Hartford Gold as I do. Please call 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. All right, so as we were talking about, Donnie is a 33-year-old radical socialist. He was born in Uganda, moved to South Africa, then he moved to New York, went to Bronx High, Bowdoin College in Maine, 3 terms in the assembly, started very early, very charismatic guy. That's why he won, because Cuomo's a bad candidate. Andrew Cuomo, and had a lot of money, Soros money and others, and bought a lot of time, and 22%, my God. But to give you a little taste, if you don't live in New York in the area, here's what his rap is. Go.
I want to say it very clearly, because both Mr. Tilson and Andrew Cuomo's Republican billionaire donors have been lying about me on our television screens and right now. I will not defund the police. I will work with the police because I believe the police have a critical role to play in creating public service, public safety.
So here's what the guy said a few years ago. Quote, "We don't need an investigation to know the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. What we need is to defund the NYPD." Okay, I mean, it doesn't get more straightforward than that. So that's what we have here in New York. And here's the irony of this. I live in Nassau County, which borders New York City. Okay, I'm about maybe 10 miles, maybe less, 8 miles from the New York City border. Nassau County is the safest county in the country as far as crime is concerned. Taxes are crazy all throughout New York State. But the county runs very efficiently because it isn't far left loons in charge here. Okay, it's fairly conservative people that are governing in a responsible way. So you cross over from Nassau into Queens or Brooklyn, okay, and it's like, whoa, no quality control whatsoever. But people vote for these people, and they vote for them because they've given up, I've said this before, and they want the government just to pull them through life. Give me everything you can give me. And that's what they want. And they're going to vote for these socialists and communists. And greater and greater. Now you got New York, you got LA, you got Chicago, you got San Francisco. All of them. All of them. That's what I did on my YouTube commentary, which will drop tonight. I'll tell you a little bit more about it later. But these inner city people that a lot of them not born here, but are eligible to vote, they don't want to compete. Some of them can't compete. I understand that. And we have to provide safety nets. But a lot of them just don't want to. They, give me. Okay. Friday, the Senate is supposed to vote on Trump tax and spend bill. So you're going to hear tax cut for the rich a million times, throwing people off of Medicaid, on and on and on and on. Just remember one thing. All the bill does is extend what Trump did in his first term as far as taxes. Doesn't raise taxes to help the billionaires, all of that. Smart life. 4 in 10 Americans, 40%, are now scared to travel abroad. Okay. Talker research, pretty good. 2,000 U.S. participants. 40% say, I'm afraid. Canceling trips to Europe. I don't know about Asia, but I know they're canceling trips to Europe. And that's a big hit to Europe. I get letters from concierge members, and one of the services that we provide concierge members on BillO'Reilly.com is if you go someplace or you want to go someplace, you run it by me because I've been to 86 countries and I can tell you what the deal is and you know what to do. Getting a lot of letters go, you're not in any danger in Europe at this point unless you go to Ukraine, okay? But it's fairly contained. The violence is contained. Well, if you're going to Austria, you'll be fine. That's my opinion, but it's based on facts. But fear, you know, Americans get afraid. I get afraid by a lot of things. What did FDR say? The only thing to fear is fear itself. Not the only thing. I don't want a big anaconda in my bedroom, but we're all getting the message. It wasn't supposed to get this bad. You were on top of your bills, then inflation hit. Prices up 26% from just a few years ago. It's not your fault. You've fallen into debt. But there's a smarter and easier way out. It's called done with debt. They don't push loans or bankruptcy on you. Done with debt are negotiators who go head to head with your credit card and loan companies. They have one goal: to reduce or eliminate your debt altogether. Done with debt moves very fast. Most clients see more money in their pocket by month 1. But hurry, because some of their debt erasing strategies are time sensitive. Don't make another bill payment until you talk to a done with debt strategist. It's free. So please visit donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. America is more dangerous than ever. With violent crime on the rise, while you could rely on a firearm, using deadly force today can land you in court, costing you years and your life savings. Trying to prove you acted in self-defense. FBI data shows 99.9% of all altercations do not require lethal force. That's why smart Americans are turning to Byrna. Proudly made in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Byrna's less lethal self-defense launchers are trusted by law enforcement, private security, more than 600,000 citizens. Byrna launchers fire kinetic rounds and powerful tear gas or pepper projectiles, able to stop a threat up to 60 feet away. No background checks, no waiting periods, delivered right to your door. Take control, be ready. Visit Byrna.com today. That's BYRNA.com, or head to your local Sportsman's Warehouse. Smart life. So I want you to be healthy. And we do a lot of this. And it's hard. It's hard. Because everything that tastes good is bad. It's as simple as that. New study, American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. Big study. So they list some foods, some common foods that aren't horrendous. I can't do the kale. I'm sorry. Tried to do the kale, can't do the kale. And here are the foods they say, if you want to be healthy, try this. All right, berries, blueberries, raspberries. Citrus, oranges and grapefruit. Dark chocolate. Now, you don't eat a pound of it, but it's a cancer-arresting agent or something. Peaches and bananas. Now, bananas, every time I turn around, it's no good, it is good, I don't know. The monkeys look healthy to me and they like bananas. Peaches and bananas. Green and black tea, yes. Yes. Leafy greens, we've heard that a million times. Not eating the kale, but spinach, I'll go for the spinach. Red wine, okay, I don't drink it, but, and then peas, onions, and tomatoes. All right, I can't eat the onions, Irish stomach. Now, here's what I had for breakfast. And this, I think I'm on the right track. So I had a low sugar cereal, like Rice Chex, okay? You can't have more than 10 milligrams of sugar. You got to read the label. I get that going. I drink whole milk. The other stuff I just can't drink. But I'm not drinking a lot of it. So I'm putting the milk on the cereal. Then I'm loading it with raspberries and blueberries. Loading it up. Okay? That's the primary. Then I take the sourdough bread and I get 4 pieces of toast, not both these, cut them in half. And I put real butter on them. Okay? I can't just eat the toast dry. And that's my breakfast with Tropicana low sugar orange juice. And it's good. Good job, Tropicana. Okay? And I have no ties to Tropicana. But if you compare the low sugar to the regular Tropicana, it's crazy. That's what I have for breakfast. Okay? So you keep it under control. Then at dinner, I'll have, a meat dish and, a salad, something like that. But if you eat junk, all right, if you go into the fast foods more than twice a week, and if you're eating the sugar stuff, your toes are going to fall off. Something's going to happen. That's it. Hate to be Bobby Kennedy here, but he's right on that one. Thank you for watching. To view full episodes of the No Spin News anytime, sign up to become a BillO'Reilly.com premium or concierge member today.